As we discuss the elimination system this month, we should look at a couple supplements that can help us support that process, and we're going to be talking about ComforTone today. So here's a product review for ComforTone. Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Minke. This is Minke Wellness. And like I said, we're doing the elimination system, and a big part, one half, we got our elimination system is really the bowel. I use the term bowel and colon and large intestine interchangeably. Probably not entirely accurate, but that's kind of how we all use it, so I'm just using the common language. And the half of the elimination system is the bowel, and the other half is the kidneys. So we'll talk about the kidneys, of course, some more, but not today. We're going to continue talking about the bowel. We talked about the 5-day nutritive cleanse, and so this ComforTone product is a capsule, okay, and it's an herbal capsule, and there are some things about herbal capsules that help the bowel that you if you go on the internet and you kind of read through, they can sound a little scary. So I'm going to kind of walk you through some of these things. It's got the one thing in here that you probably would read about, and you say, oh, well, wait a minute, I'm not so sure. It's got Cascara sagrada. And this is an herb, it's the bark. This is an herb that is actually a mild irritant to the lining of the intestine. The idea for that is that it stimulates the mucus production, or stimulates things to get moving, helps to sweep things along, and it helps the lining to release and secrete and let things go so that it's not all trapped on there. So it's when you hear a mild irritant, and then if you read on the internet that it's toxic, well, anything that's mildly irritating is by definition toxic. The definition of toxic in the medical literature is anything that causes an irritation. So it's not as bad as it sounds. What's interesting about this is it has some other stuff in that are very soothing to the lining. So there's this little balance going on where there's something that's going to really help to get things going, and a little irritating to make sure that the lining has a chance to do its thing. And then we've got psyllium, which can also, there are some people who are actually sensitive to psyllium, but the psyllium, again, it's another one of those things that it actually is a little bit irritating on one side, but it actually has these has a mucopolysaccharides that are really good. And that's have you ever seen, when you eat oatmeal, and if you really have a very, very diluted oatmeal, and you mix it up, like I said, if it's really dilute and you let it sit there for a while, eventually the oat itself, you can still see the oat, but then there's this slime that's on the outside of the oat, and you could spoon it up and you'd get this almost clearish, milky-ish slime, and it's all gooey, and if you pick it up, it will be slimy. Well, those are mucopolysaccharides, and those are really, really good for the gut. And so you'll hear a lot of people talk about how oats are really good, and so this is the same thing with psyllium, as well as there was another thing I missed in here. Well, that's pectin can be somewhat like that, but basically the psyllium is the one here that's got the mucopolysaccharide. The next thing on the list is barberry, and then burdock. Barberry and burdock are both really good for the liver. So the liver has to really get the bile flowing, or the bowel is not going to end up with enough fluid, enough liquid to do its thing, okay? So it's a fabulous supplement that has a liver stimulant that gets the bile flowing out of the liver, because that's absolutely critical for bowel health, okay? Very important. If the bile if we don't produce enough bile, then the chyme that comes through the stomach stays acidic. We acidify the entire tube. That's no good. And so we really, this is a fabulous way to do that. Garlic is good for the immune system. Echinacea is good for the immune system. And then we have the bentonite, diatomaceous earth, ginger, good for the liver. German chamomile is very soothing. The apple pectin is going to be somewhat soothing. Licorice, good for the liver. Cayenne, again, another sort of stimulant or maybe even an irritant. Cayenne can be an irritant, but that's good for bringing circulation to the tissue, even on contact. And then we go into the essential oils. We'll talk about those in a minute. But I want to talk about the clay, the bentonite clay and the diatomaceous earth. These are things that are going to trap toxins, okay? So this is really just an amazingly designed capsule that can do so many things in the area of getting the colon to sweep out. And what's really nice about this product is that you rarely have all these things in one place. We've got a really sophisticated program here, a supplement here that's going to do all these little different things in balance, okay? So in other words, if you were just to take Cascara Sagrada by itself, that can be very irritating. If you were just to take garlic by itself, even that can be irritating. But when you combine it with all of these other things that are helping to sweep toxins out, with the bentonite clay and the diatomaceous earth, so it doesn't do any good to stimulate the lining to release toxins if you don't have anything to trap those toxins and sweep it out. So there's where your problem comes in when we start using these herbs that are cleansing herbs, right? Which the Cascara Sagrada would be. And same as the burdock and the barberry, although they're more for the liver. But you've got these cleansers that are designed to kind of help stimulate the tissue to release toxins. But where's it going to go? Now it's just sitting there irritating and maybe even getting reabsorbed. And so that's where the clay and the diatomaceous earth will trap those and help that to be something that just kind of moves on through. Let's talk about the oils in here. So we've got I'm having trouble with the glare off of this, between the glare in my eyes. The tarragon oil, ginger oil, tangerine oil, rosemary oil, anise oil, peppermint oil, ocotillo oil, and German chamomile. So we have German chamomile both as an herbal extract and German chamomile as an oil, and those are both very soothing. Okay, so we've got these fabulous oils there. Now the peppermint also very soothing. Fabulous oils already built in that can be very soothing. Again, kind of providing a balance for some of the other herbs that are designed to help stimulate the movement and get the peristalsis going and get things going. We'll talk more about peristalsis and the colon and how we need the muscle contraction to do. That's part of what the Cascara Sagrada will do in terms of its irritation. So this is the capsules. Now, I want to talk about this from a usage standpoint. I personally, and this is just my personal thing, I have found that any bowel supplement I take has a tendency to have results that if I take too much of it, I don't like, right? I either get totally constipated. It's typically what happens to me. I get completely constipated. My system locks up because too many toxins are coming out or whatever. I'm not sure why. Then other people, if they take even the smallest amount of something, they end up with diarrhea. So the directions suggest 1 capsule 3 times a day on here, and that's not at all unreasonable, but I am going to suggest that we all start with just one, and just see how your body does, and take 1 for a little while, and if everything's going well, then you can kind of go up to 2 and at that, and then up to 3 if you'd like. So 1 capsule 3 times a day, and it says at least 64 ounces of water throughout the day. Going to be very, very important to hydrate the bowel, especially if we're using these herbs to pull toxins and everything else. We need to get enough hydration going. And so here is where the morning water becomes critical to get that hydration all the way down through the tube so that it gets into the colon. And so if you didn't catch my video for the breathing down and following the, getting to know the colon, it's called getting to know the colon, we're breathing down the colon, get that water to flush all the way down there with the morning water. We drink our morning water first thing, glug glug glug. Really, that's the basis, and then drink 1 more glass, and that's going to go straight to the colon. Okay, so that second glass of water is fabulous, going right down through the colon to wash the tube. Okay, so this is part of our elimination program to help the colon do its job, and we're going to ease into that. We're just going to be taking one a day. Like I said, if you've already been doing it and everything's good and you don't have any bowel concerns, you can of course do what you want. If we're just combining a bunch of stuff here, so I want to make sure everyone is kind of having a good time with this, or easing into it. We don't want to. It's hard to go into an immediate cleanse or an immediate lockup and have to adjust from your wellness program. So I'm trying to avoid that. Now I do want to point out that there's a caution on the label, so let's just go through that. It's as I said, this product contains Cascara sagrada. Read and follow directions carefully. Do not use if you've developed diarrhea, loose stools, or abdominal pain. So the Cascara sagrada bark may worsen these conditions, and so in other words, if you're already seriously irritated. This is just the warning, like everything else. Don't use if you're pregnant and nursing and all that stuff. If your colon is irritated because you got too many toxins and stuff, and the chemistry is out of balance, and you need a product like this to help you, then it's sort of a catch-22, right? So you can always give it a try. And don't pound it, just try one. That's another reason why we're doing this, with lots of water, see how it does. Now, if you feel like you take the one and it really is very irritating, then you would, probably not the product for you. And of course, you don't know that until you try. So give that to your husband or your wife or someone else in the family, or trade it out with someone in your downline. Or in your upline. Okay, so this is also part of the elimination system, that we need to get the colon going, and this is a fabulous product to start with. We have been doing a lot of stuff with enzymes and the water and all kinds of stuff that's helping the colon. So I think we're ready for this. We've been doing a lot of this stuff to get us ready for this month. Okay, so this is not coming out of the blue. I think we're going to be good with this. All right, so we'll ease into it one day at a time. Happy wellness. We'll see you tomorrow.